Good evening, and thank you for joining us on today's edition of Journalists Hangout. I am Kemi Foladiemo. Today on the program, the House of Representatives order Mago's arrest over Patience Jonathan. INEC warns against premature campaigns for 2019 polls. And later on the program, Borno APC brands Sheriff a desperado. I'll be joining now today with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Wale Adeoye, and Gani Kayode Balogun. Journalists Hangout starts now. So the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has one of the most difficult jobs in Nigeria today. His job explains why he's fighting many battles. The Senate has refused to confirm him as the substantive chairman of the EFCC. And after a short break from legislative trials, Magu is in the news again. On Wednesday this week, a House of Representatives committee ordered his arrest for refusing to appear before it over former First Lady Patience Jonathan's petition. And in that petition, Patience Jonathan demanded that the bank account belonging to her, of course, should be unfrozen by the EFCC. So we ask, as we begin today's conversation, I begin with you, Jide. What do you think is going on from all that has transpired now with the House committee now ordering Magu to appear before it?
Yes, you know, repeatedly they tried to get Magu to appear before them, or even send a representative, and Magu has kept away thus far. This is what irritates them, and they are angry. They are threatening fire and brimstone over that. The matter has been on for some time. Patience's lawyer petitioned the House and complained about incessant harassment, and using the words of the lawyer, incessant harassment by the EFCC. Of course, there were six banks involved, and after the House of Reps gave an order that those bank accounts should be unfrozen, only two banks complied, EcoBank and Union Bank. Others have not complied. I wonder why, over matters in court, the National Assembly would continue to get involved, even by their own laws. By their own laws, any matter that is before a competent court of jurisdiction should not be entertained by the National Assembly, either the House of Reps or the Senate. So it's like they are showing to Nigerians that they are inherently lawless by going against their own rules and regulations. Their rules state clearly that matters that are before a court, that they should stay clear of such matters. And I've seen matters brought before them that they refuse to entertain for the simple fact that such matters were before the courts. So in this case, why they are going on and on over this matter and trying to intimidate the FCC and get the FCC to do their bidding is what I do not understand. I do not prejudge this matter in any way. It is possible that the FCC will not be able to prove that those monies are products of money laundering. I've said repeatedly that it is in our part of the world, it's not a big deal for a first lady to have $15 million in her account, because banks. People will come, give you gifts and all that. You must be ready to prove that such monies are proceeds of money laundering, or that such monies emanate from direct stealing. So you should be ready to do that. And it's not in all cases that the EFCC will be able to win when it freezes an account.
In this matter, they've won some and they've even lost some.
Abdulaziz Murtalan Yako's account was frozen. The matter went to court and the EFCC lost, because Abdulaziz told the court that my dad is a very successful farmer. We all know that in Nigeria. He was even president of the National Council of Farmers. And that proceeds from his farming business are usually kept in his own account. So the EFCC must prove that Babame Mangoro, that's Murtala Yako, actually stole the monies that he kept in his son's account. They couldn't do that. They lost the case. They didn't even appeal.
Right.
So I believe that Patience Jonathan and her lawyer should have been patient. This case is in court. Ultimately, it will be decided. You can't tell me as a first lady that you can't get by unless you have access to those money. Because they are saying, oh, some checks that were issued, you know, with the intention of making withdrawals were returned and all that. You should expect that they will be returned because there is no debit order on those accounts.
But then, when the committee started work on this petition by the First Lady, Gani, we understand that first went there. Of course, they went there and then they attended to the questions, FIRS, so also other agencies and some banks.
Some banks, yeah.
Could it be because the matters are in court already? Is that why EFCC disobeyed the directive to come and show reason?
Well, you cannot sit here, of course, and make cases for the EFCC. They must have their reasons.
Right.
And those who also turned up must also have reasons why they did that. For example, like Gide said, this is just a carnival, a charade, as it were. Because no matter the order that is given at this committee's level, has no bearing on the case that is in court. Only the court can decide whether the monies will be defrozen or not. So what we are having now is just a theater, something to divert our attention. And I blame the lawyer of the former First Lady for wasting her time and hours on things that they know carries no locus under the law. And that's the tragedy of where our education system has gotten to. Because normally at that level, they should know that as Committee on Public Petitions, once a matter is before a court of law, you hands off. That means either they have too much time on their hands to play around with, or they simply are just playing to the gallery. Because either way, I'm sure the banks you mentioned, the FIRS, let's give the devil its due, so they don't cause them more problem.
Right.
They just get one officer, please go and represent us. Give them the fact that we already give to the courts. Anyway, it's not that it's a public secret, and that's what they are doing. And like I said, again, it's just a diversion. Ultimately, whether this year, next year, in 10 years, only the courts will determine this case.
But then, Wale, what kind of protection was Patience in herself, you know, hoping to achieve from the House committee, the House by extension, of course?
Well, I see the whole thing a bit, you know, differently. We have to understand the context in which she wrote that petition. The people who handled that petition, the two honorable members, you know, Kingsley Chindi and then Nkem Abonta, they are both members of PDP. One is actually from Rivers State, the home state of the
is from the
First Lady. The other one is from Abia. So I think she wrote that petition with the hope that she will seek alliance, you know, protection from our political allies, having failed in court. And I'm really worried that you are inviting the FCC acting chairman, but we are not actually concerned about inviting the First Lady to question her about the source of this stupendous wealth. Some 8 years ago, she was just an ordinary person, and she became perhaps one of the richest women in this country by virtue of just being the First Lady of a country. So there are moral questions, you know, that I expect the House of Representatives to be concerned about.
Well, like Jide said, she could have been the recipient of gifts.
Yeah, those are assumptions which are possible. But the House, you know, as one of the institutions that should also be the custodian of the state's morality, should also be concerned about the source of wealth of this woman, not just about the fact that some people are probing her.
On the other side,
and also when you look at the role, the statutory role of the House of Representatives, under Chapter 1, Section 4, the House is to make laws and to interpret, I mean, to treat bills and also question government officials or government institutions. The House has no right to issue bench warrant to arrest people. Arresting people is enforcing laws, and that is not the role of the House of
But the House rules empowers the police to
they have oversight functions.
Follow the directives
they cannot
of the House
issue order. These things have been contested several times by lawyers, and that is why when they invite people, they don't go. Okay. Because I think why the EFCC acting chairman has refused to go is that by the time you begin to go all the time to attend to their requests and all that, you are conferring unnecessary legitimacy on the House of Rep to now be the one to determine who is corrupt and who is not. In fact, to seize the functions of the EFCC. The EFCC has its own statutory role to probe cases of corrupt cases, and they have gone to court. So if these cases are in court, I think the process should be allowed to run its own course.
Right.
I think this what is happening is unnecessary interference by the House of Rep.
Well, you've raised interesting perspectives, and I want Jide and Gani to respond, especially as to the competence of this warrant, this warrant that was issued on Magu.
They can issue warrants. They can. It's within their powers to do that. And that one didn't start today. Even a minister, the former Minister of Transport, Yusuf Suleiman, didn't want to face the Senate. I think in 2007 or so. But the IG was directed to arrest him, and he quickly ran to the Senate to face them. In the exercise of their statutory functions, if you try to get in the way of the exercise of their functions, they can issue a warrant. It's well within their powers to issue a warrant to bring you. What I am concerned about is the fact that they are now moving away from, just because the ministries, departments, and agencies, they have the rights, is within their powers to oversight, to do oversight on those ministries, departments, and agencies. But they are now moving into other areas. For example, the impression they want to give me now is that if I have a quarrel with my wife, and my wife goes to the National Assembly to drop a petition, you can then invite me. You know that in the past they've also tried to even invite people who do not work for government, who are not holding public positions and all that. So it is their attempts to move beyond the scope of their powers that I'm really concerned about. But they have the power to actually issue a bench warrant. They have it. Now, in the case of Patience Jonathan, remember, there is a lot of politics about this, and there is ethnicity about what is going on. Remember, two lawmakers almost exchanged blows over this matter. When Bio, the Kwara House of Reps member, said something that a lawmaker from the South didn't like about this same matter, they almost came to blows. The insults, they ran their mouths against each other, used all kinds of unprintable things against one another. So, in this case, I think that Patience won one of those cases, and the court actually ordered that the account should be lifted. Yes. Fayose had a similar thing. Right. The court said, look, unfreeze his account. And I've given the example of Abdulaziz Moitala Yako. So if we have laws, we should allow the law and the court process to run their course. We should let, from time to time, our laws, we should allow our laws to be put to test, and then the court process should be allowed to run its course. It may take some time, but in the end, justice will be served. That is my belief. The attitude of our people to not even have little faith in our judicial system is what has bred the near total disregard for the judiciary, total disrespect for the judiciary, and the feeling amongst Nigerians that, look, whatever it is, they will never get justice from the Nigerian judiciary. But it is not true. I've just given some examples. So Patience and her lawyer ought to be patient in this matter, and probably justice I mean, justice will be done, but probably justice will be done, I mean, will favor them at the end of the day.
All right, gentlemen, and to your viewers, we'll get you more feedback now on this House intervention when we return from this break. Don't go away. Thank you very much for joining us at this point now. Okay, so let's, Ganipis, I want you to also respond to this issue. Another part of this story to the House of Representatives intervention now to Dame Jonathan's petition was that all these companies linked to her directly or indirectly send, well, their reports now to the Inland Revenue Service now and then get back to the House now for feedback on that. Yeah. Does it make it balanced somehow?
Well, when you are in the process of investigation, you have the right to request further documents. Because
Wale said, why didn't they ask her to come state her own side of the story? Why did it have to be the other people now to come? But with them, those companies now having to submit reports now.
Well, if you work under the assumption that what they are doing is right, which is not, let's work from that point of view. Let's say what they are doing is right. This is just working towards the process. The petition is on the table. All those technical areas must now come in. It's when they have it all, everything is on their desk. They will now summon the principal petitioner to come and defend their position based on those laws, those documents that they have in front of them. So it's something that I have to follow the process, even though the process itself is faulty. But like I said, if you are working from that line, it's not the time for Jonathan yet. It's time when everything is set. They have all the facts based on those drivers and those cooks whose names were the signatory of those accounts, to now align them together. How come a cook suddenly who is not aware that he owns a company and that is the signatory to a $15 million account now to be realigned and everything will be in the open? But like I said, the entire exercise is just exercise in futility.
So what happens to this petition now that EFCC has, of course, ignored the invitation now, and of course there's a threat. Well, there is now. He could be arrested.
No, I expect the acting chairman to contest it in court. You know, so and I think he stands a good chance if he can get a very good lawyer, you know, to contest the reason why.
All right, I'm sorry. Baku is joining us from Cross River State. Patrick. Basi, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Please go on.
Thank you very much. I'm so appreciative of the work that people are really doing there. But I really want to contribute.
Carry on, please.
The lady in question happens to have been the wife of a president. And by virtue of her office, there's every tendency that she'll be given gifts by people. And by virtue of that, it's expected that she should be a rich woman. And if the people that are investigating should find out when there's anywhere that she has done anything wrong or when she has been given contract that would have warranted her stealing money or doing whatever, I believe that it was a kind of fraud. That's when she should have been treated that way. It's expected that she should be a rich man by virtue of her existing office that she was before.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Take care. All right, Wale, as you were saying about well, the potency of this committee now, saying that there are questions, there are knocks already, and there's still some holes that are yet to be filled. So what happens?
Yeah, I think they've rescheduled for November 7th. You know, they expect him to. I expect him to go to court and to challenge the order, or maybe at best. Because it's not compulsory that he should appear. He could send someone to also represent him. So maybe at best he will send a lawyer to go to, to the House of Rep, But I think beyond all this going forth, I mean, there are fundamental issues of corruption, and they should allow the court to run its full course. They should allow the EFCC to do its thorough job. We are talking about 8 accounts, not actually 6. In different banks. In fact, some of the banks, you have almost about 3 accounts belonging to the same person. There was an hotel that was discovered recently running to, worth $2 billion, belonging to, I mean, these are public funds. These are
uh,
very serious.
accusation that it belongs to her.
Yes.
Some of those buildings have been found not to belong to her.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But these cases...
Even the building belonging to a senator was ascribed to her. Until people have been able to prove.
Yeah.
And you have cast iron evidence.
And it's left to the courts.
It is the court that can do that.
They should stop
It is the court
going
that
to
can
the
do that.
media and saying, look, we found this building to belong to this person. It has to stop. At some point, it must stop.
Media trials.
It has to stop. It's embarrassing.
But then, Patience said she needs protection from the EFCC. Is the EFCC witch hunt? Yes, she needs protection. Is the EFCC witch hunting?
Look,
Madam Jonathan.
you know why she's saying that. You know why she's saying that. Her neighbor is a member of National Assembly. A building belonging to the neighbor, the EFCC claimed that it belongs to patients. You know, they do these things and leave gaps, leave embarrassing gaps.
That they lose at the end of the day.
And make them look stupid before people. I remember a judgment, the judge spent so much time abusing the EFCC.
Bust.
That's the case of Hassan Lawal, the former Minister of Labour. They should stop all this. At the end of the day, the trial will go on because the judge will not give you what you do not deserve. If you cannot do diligent prosecution, ensure that you actually caught that fellow with his hand in the jar, there's no way the judgment will be given in your favor. You don't, the way the FCC does its job is wait for people to write petitions. Sometimes even those who write those petitions, when it's time to come to court, you do not even see them.
And one would not
what were they complaining about
the
with
Right.
Suswam? Because they said, oh, the petitioner is nowhere to be found. So that means your case is dead?
No, they found him in the context.
No, I'm talking about when they were complaining that, oh, we can't find the petitioner and all that. So they should do their own job. Look, if someone recants, your own diligent prosecution that you have done will ensure that you will still be able to nail that person. That is the thing. I've seen cases in which somebody was granted administrative bail and newspapers will report the next day that, oh, that person paid so amount of money for bail. It's a lie. Oh. It's so rampant. We want the corruption war to be won. But the strategy has to change.
Right.
Look at Goje now. You saw Goje, at the end of the day, Goje will walk free after about 7-8 years of trial. Because two major witnesses came to court and were praising
for the interruption. Felix joins us from Lagos. You're welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. Carry on, please.
What I want to say in contribution to this is that are you hearing me, please?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay. If Magu is sure that what Jonathan has is process of crime, then let him appear before the reps committee and then explain himself. Just like what Babajide said, they may not be able to really ascertain that what she had or what she has with her is process of crime. So that is why he's afraid to come before the committee. And you know he cannot talk very well. You saw what happened when he went to the Senate committee, how he made himself up. So perhaps he's afraid that when he gets to the rest, he may be shot down or maybe maybe wrong. So let him appear.
All right, thanks, Felix. He can send someone. He doesn't have to appear.
They are not even saying
he doesn't have to appear.
He didn't.
The position of the EFCC.
Represented.
But then a twist to Felix's question now. What is Magu afraid of? Should he be afraid of anything now in not appearing before the Senate or the House all this while?
The speaker is blowing hot and cold at the same time. You want the rule of law, and then you want him to break the law. Like we said, the only place where EFCC is mandated to appear is in the court of law. Remember that the onus is that he who alleges must prove. He doesn't have to explain himself to everybody. Right. Because by going here, he's actually perpetrating what we've been talking about, media trial.
No, if he even says this matter is in court, that's
all he needs to do.
That's what happened with Malami. When they said Malami should come, Malami said this case is in court.
You could just simply go and say that.
Your own rules say that
any matter in the court of law.
That was the end, and they walked away. And in the case of the CBN governor, and others were told to come and explain what happened with the money found in Osborne Towers. And the man said, by the laws of our country, he is not obligated to provide that information because this is a security matter. And that was the end of it. So if you do not want to appear before them, at least you should be able to send maybe the EFCC's lawyer to say, this is the reason I am not going to appear. Just the same way that Abubakar Malami did that day. And that will just mark the end. But to ignore them, not talk to at all about them, is what has caused this. I'm telling you that in the end, Magu will not have any need to face these people. At all. And the matter will die in its natural death. But you don't have to ignore them the way you have done.
All this while. All right, gentlemen, after this break, we'll bring you another story. This time, INEC warns against premature campaigns for 2019 polls. It's coming as McCarthy has cautioned Fayose. We'll tell you more on that and analyze it, of course, after this break. Stay with us. All right, intense debate here, but we have to move on. The race for the 2019 polls has unofficially begun. Politicians at their best again. They've returned to the chessboard and are making quick but thoughtful decisions. Last week, Governor Ayodele Fayose decided to take the lead by declaring his presidential ambition in Abuja. And he took the lead among politicians who flout Nigeria's electoral laws effortlessly. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has now issued stern warnings to Fayose and his likes against campaigning ahead of the 2019 general election. He says the ban on campaigns is still on, and until it's lifted, it's illegal for anyone to do so. The chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Ahmed Makarafi, has also spoken out condemning Governor Fayose for violating the party's zoning arrangement. The question we would want to ask now to introduce this topic is why the hurry? Wale, let's do a post-mortem on Fayose's declaration last week. Why the hurry? Is this something like for the record only, or was there something he was willing to achieve beyond that?
Well, I don't think that declaration was meant, to really, put him in the front burner as a major contender. He
conceded that there is a zoning arrangement.
Yeah. I think it's just a kind of trying to register himself in national, at the consciousness of people at the national level, because he should be conscious enough to know that it's not likely that the PDP is going to zone, the next presidential ticket to the southwest. But I think it's just trying to, get himself, to draw attention to himself, because if you see what is going on in Ekiti State, it's not only Fayose that has flouted that law. In Ekiti State, for instance, we have almost about 51 contenders for the position of the governor, and they are from both parties. And most of them have actually declared their intention to contest for the election that is meant, for July next year. So it's not only Fayose alone, it's almost everybody along party lines that seems to have flouted that electoral law, which says that you have to begin the campaign 90 days before the election. So I think it doesn't, reflect, it's not an issue that affects only Fayose alone. It's something that cuts across all the party line. And I think the INEC coming at this time is the right one, and I hope the political parties, you know, and the candidates will take it, you know, serious.
There's a
and abide by the law.
500,000 naira fine. Could this warning and the revert now to the provisions of the Electoral Act, Gani, could this warning have any impact on the quiet but intense politicking ongoing?
No. Whatever the INEC is saying is just for public consumption. Politicians have never stopped campaigning, not for a single day. In fact, people will tell you that the next campaign starts the very day they were sworn into office. So what he's saying is just for our benefits. Politicians have never really obeyed that law. They've obeyed it in the breach since 1999. And about the zoning matter, don't also forget that Abubakar remained ran against Obasanjo, despite the fact that PDP zoned into the Southwest. And even when Buhari came up, it was at the time when people thought it's easier for Southwest to round up their 8 years, for other people show up. So when it comes to rules, Nigerian politicians are very good at bending them. And so it doesn't really work out that way. As long as Fayose is, as you all know, a rabble-rouser, he enjoys getting attention. And he enjoys it so much that he'll do anything. Don't also forget that he was one of the 2 governors who made sure when PDP was in trouble, that they are always in the front seats to ensure that things are done their way. And some people even say that those 2 are totally responsible for whatever sorry pass PDP found themselves in before the judgment by the Supreme Court. So let's enjoy the tricks that Fayose is providing. Like he said, it's not the only one. They're going to get more and more. INEC is going to say what they have to say. Politicians will have to do what they have to do.
Right, but then today the Electoral Act provision says any political party, Fayose somehow doesn't have the backing of the PDP. They've since disowned his political ambition, his presidential ambition. So if he continues now with all this now, is he on his own? I mean, can INEC even, you know, punish him for that?
He can be punished, but whether INEC will have the political will to maybe stop him from contesting is the big question. Because if you are talking about a fine of 500,000, it's not a lot of money to this people.
Can afford that.
It's chicken change, you know. Among politicians who talk about spending 1 million in Mr. Biggs, remember what he said then? Let's give our chairman 1 million each to go and eat Mr. Biggs. You know, so it's not a lot of money to big-time politicians in our country. So INEC has to just continue to warn them, but I don't think it will in itself stop them. Posters are all over the place, even for Buhari to contest in 2019, whereas nobody has heard from the old man that he wants to contest. People on their own will go and do posters and billboards for you. When I went to Benue, I saw billboards demanding that your Tom contest the 2019 election. Despite all the troubles that the governor is going through with workers and all that, there are billboards all over the place already telling him that he should contest. If that is not campaigning, then what is it? Because every time you drive through the major roads, you see those billboards, and they are talking about.
Remember the
they are
report
talking
on
about
Yemi
2019
Oshibajo's
election.
own as well, where he even disowned.
And there are guys, they call them the Buhari Yemi Oshibajo support group. They are campaigning all over the place for both men. In Adamawa, everywhere they are campaigning. So these campaigns have begun, just as GKB said. They have begun. It's not like they are just, it's now that the campaigns are gathering steam. These people have been campaigning. They've been meeting. We don't know what their plans are. We don't know what they discuss at their meetings. But we know that they are strategizing already ahead of 2019. But to come out in the way Fayose did is what smacks of the irresponsible, because the law states clearly that you can't begin campaigning at this time. All the people who have been campaigning, they've been doing it, you know, subterraneously and all that. But you have come out.
What was the reason for his hurry?
Just to draw attention to himself. As I said, last week, he sees himself as bigger than what the mirror tells him. So, Fayose will do what he thinks is right. in what he thinks is right. But we know that it is wrong to go even the step that he went. Your party was at the non-elected convention of his party, where the decision was reached that the party would zone the presidency to the north. He was there. He didn't oppose the idea. Now you are saying that, despite that your party has elected to zone this thing to the north, that you are going to contest. That means you are not a good party man. That means you are not a good party man. A good party man must demonstrate discipline. You know? So you have demonstrated indiscipline. You are not a good party man. That's why McAfee said, well, he's on his own. And truly, he's on his own, except if he's banking strictly on the votes of people in Ekiti to catapult him to the position of president, because he's been saying that the people in Aso Rock are this thing, one chance people that is going to chase them away. So let us see how he intends to do it. But it was wrong to do all that ceremony to say you are entering the race. If you are sure of yourself, enter the race at the time others are entering. The person who will win will still be the one who will win at the end of the day. Nigerians are not going to decide this early. No, that's not the way our people do things. Once they see that, oh, people have come out, these are the people who want to contest, they will make their choice, you know, amongst the people
the pretenders
who are going to contest. They don't decide as early as this.
As from now, especially as the average Nigerian will rather wait until it is pretty close. But then INEC is saying 3 months, 90 days now to the date of that particular election.
That's what the Electoral Act says.
That's what the Electoral Act says, indeed. But then, Gani, 3 months to, of course, that doesn't stop any action now from going on, does it?
No. The politicians have the right to align and realign. That's not campaigning.
Right.
That's just strategizing. And that's what they are good at. What the electoral stated is basically that at that point in time, national campaign will start. Doesn't mean that up until that day, they cannot do internal politicking at the highest level. And that will go on for as long as we have politics in Nigeria. So it's not really peculiar to us. It's all over the world. But having said that, you have
an electoral calendar.
Yeah. You have to understand that as of the day they would lift this thing, like Wale said, everything will have been clear. The pretenders will have left the stage. Only the serious contenders will remain. And then people will make their choice. Okay,
but then, Wale, what do you think the party should do with Fayoshe's presidential announcement, or the presidential bid now? Should they just carry on like nothing happened?
Well, there is something fundamentally wrong with party structure and ownership in Nigeria. Most of the political parties are owned by, the big donors. Or like in the past, where you register, for instance, as a member of Action Group, you have your dues that you pay almost every month. But these days, most members of about over 90% of them are just onlookers. They are bystanders. So that's why there is no party discipline. They are not in a position to control those rich men who fund the party. If there is party discipline, the party should be in a position to call anybody that errs to order. But we have a situation where the party is owned by certain few individuals, and they are so rich that nobody can actually control them, and they determine the future, the dance steps of the party itself. So until the people become the real stakeholders in the party, the big men, with their money, will continue to dictate the fortunes of most of these political parties.
And then,
that's why nobody is able to check them, that they should not come out to contest and all that. It's lack of party discipline.
All right, let me compare what Wale said now with your take, Jide, even as we round up this topic and move on now. Fayoshe is, after all, the chairman of the PDP Southwest PDP governors, I mean to say. Yeah. So what do you see? What do you think about this trend now? And do you also think nothing will happen now that he has announced? I'm talking about punitive measures.
By his own party?
Indeed.
I'm sure they will continue to talk to him. The worst that the PDP can do to itself now is to attempt to suspend the governor. Because you need the governors, and they are big watches. They have the resources to make things happen. And PDP clearly doesn't have enough governors at this time, you know. So they will continue to manage him. When you have someone like Kwauche, you must continue to manage him. So I'm sure they will continue to talk to him. You can see that even McAfee chose his words clearly because at least he stuck to you when you had that crisis.
Right. Because when you said manager, I was like, but we saw the role Fayose played when he first defended his opponent. Now he first defended Ali Modu Sheriff, and then he spoke out when it mattered the most. Indeed.
He stuck to him when it mattered the most. So we will be grateful for that. And McAfee is a smart and calm politician. So he knows what to do. They will continue to talk to him and let him realize that this is a waste of time. This is a waste of resources. There is any party that wants to claim the presidency in 2019 will field a candidate from the North, because the North has only done, is just on one term now. The South took what ought to be the North's portion. So now it is against the grain to say, okay, this thing should go to the South now. After maybe Buhari has done 2 terms, it will make sense to say, okay, we go back to the South. So that's the way they are thinking.
Okay, and the Northern hopefuls are not just keeping quiet. They have their reasons for keeping quiet now. Those who are perhaps hopeful of the bid.
24 hours is a long time in politics. Very long time.
They will manage him.
Right. All right. So let's move on. At the mention of the name Ali Modu Sheriff, the People's Democratic Party tremble, I should say. It will be because he once rocked its boats into the deep blue sea. But since the Supreme Court turned the tables against him, Sheriff has been steadily drowning. Of course, we will talk about all of that, how true that is. In the last few weeks, the reports have been awash, indicating that he might be considering the All Progressives Congress for a soft landing. But the odds seem to be against him. It appears that he's lost big on the home front since the rumor of Sheriff's possible defection to the APC. The Borno State chapter of the party has spared no word in publicly rejecting him. Its resistance has been daring. On Wednesday, it described Sheriff as a desperado who is willing at all costs to be politically relevant in Nigeria. So with the look of things, Ali Modu Sheriff might be running out of options. Is this the beginning of Sheriff's political end? Jide?
You know, I said something the day we discussed this matter. I said it is not for Abuja alone to determine whether Sheriff will be received into the APC. He's held meetings with the Vice President, but the truth is, in his home state, he is no longer popular. He has become a kind of political leper in his home state. Many of his own supporters, some of them who have been with him for more than 30 years, have left to join the APC.
All right.
So he's a politician who is literally on his own now. On his own now.
But we will talk more on that now when we return from this quick break. Don't go away. You're watching Journalist Hangout, and we are on to our third and final topic now this day, of course, where we look at the APC's response to the rumors or the reports now that Ali Modu Sheriff was indeed returning to the All Progressives Congress, or would be going to the All Progressives Congress. Well, Jide, I'd like you to land now, even because I know I interrupted you earlier, where the question was asked, indeed, is this the beginning of the end of Ali Modu Sheriff's political dynasty?
Ali Modu Sheriff is politically dead, especially in the Northeast. In Borno State, nobody reckons with him anymore. Most of his former supporters have left for the APC. I think that the fact that he could not get back to the Senate is enough pointer to the fact that his political fortune has gone down. So, but in the Southwest, his loyalists are very strong. People like Buruji Kashamo, you know, they are very strong, and they know that if they can bring him into the APC, they will be able to get those guys into the APC. That's Buruji and others, which will make the APC stronger in the Southwest. So that is the goal. But in Borno State, clearly APC leaders in Borno do not want him to come back. They know that he's a poisonous character. They know what he represents. So they don't want him back in that party.
It's not a matter of his clout in the north.
They know okay. That clout has diminished. That clout is no longer there. But they know that he retains the capacity to cause problems. To cause problems for the party. To cause disunity, disaffection within the party. So they don't even want to see him. And someone like Governor Kashim Shettima will already be seeing himself as the new godfather of Borno politics. He's not going to be excited about the possibility of this man coming to share the limelight with him. So I foresee that he's going to find it difficult to get into the party. I know they are still talking, but he's going to find things really difficult.
So he can enter. So are you also saying, Gani, that he can join the APC now, but under the present, not under the present circumstances of him, the rumors of him going?
Well, the party structure
to head the northeastern
in Borno
zone
State is firmly in the hand of the governor.
Right.
Firmly. And you know the rules for joining APC is that you go back to your ward. And I'm sure PDP did to one guy.
They did Ojus or Kalu.
They refused to give him a phone.
Even at the ward level.
Yeah.
Despite the presidency told him you can return to.
So all the governor has to do is ensure he doesn't get a form.
Nobody will register him.
And if you cannot come in from Borno, maybe you can come in from the J. Where he's originally from.
Chad. Chad. He has businesses in
where
Chad.
he's originally from.
But Jide said perhaps he could be more relevant in the southwest.
They can use him.
That's where I'm a bit. Yeah. How really?
The politics is a game of influence, and you can have influence far and beyond what to control in your home state. And the current structure within the southwest, it has very, very, very important loyalists. Let me use that word. So the party or those who want him in the party, you cannot get him through the normal channels. Can create a caveat to use him one way or another. You could start any of these mono NGOs and just give you a funny name. You can simply call him coordinator of Buhari campaign in the Kinecon. There are 1,001 ways they can use him without coming through the party. But as far as APC, as presently constituted, is concerned, it's DOA.
But Wale, does it seem to you that there may be some truth now underneath all these rumors of him? Because these are serious allegations, impersonation,
that he wants to come to APC.
That he's already the chairman of the northeastern zone of the APC.
The
then the APC is now going on to disown that never happened. This is serious.
I think that was reported by some media organizations, mainly online media.
It was planted.
But there's nothing like, Northeast leader in the constitution of the APC. So perhaps you will find the station of a loose board that is just looking for on any tree to patch. Somebody whose political fortunes has been diminished and is just looking for rehabilitation. So I think he's in a very desperate mood. And the only hope for him is probably to see how he can just manage to align himself, either fully or partly, with the APC. But I think, like people have said, it's going to be a very difficult thing. But we have seen striking examples where politicians that have ruled out, because we are in a highly promiscuous political environment, where there's no ideology, there are no values. You write off a particular politician and then suddenly he's brought back again by his friends. So the political terrain is not guided by ideology. That is how what has happened. He's trying to come back to APC. It should have been an aberration. But for him to even have the confidence that the APC had, so for the fact that some people are even talking to him, it tells you how rotten the whole political system is. So without a clear-cut ideology, without values, he may be able to find his feet in one way or the other. Though not being relevant electorally, but at least to be rehabilitated by being given probably one position or the other.
Well, is there anything like that, political rehabilitation?
Yeah, we do it all the time.
He could be given any position just to,
in practice.
In this case, it is politics is an interest-driven game. And if his coming will conflict with the interests of certain elements, they will do what Theodoji did to Ojus Okalu to him. He won't be able to get into the party. There is no way by which you can enter the party unless you register, you know, at what level. So he can go to Ngala, where he comes from, close to Cameroon, and they will not register him. I know for an official of the party, the spokesman of the party in Borno State, to say those things about him, that should tell you how the rest of them are thinking. I mean, with what he did in the PDP, he doesn't cover himself in glory at all. So, and they will be thinking, this guy, if he comes back, he's going to cause problems in our party and all that. I'm telling you, it's possible that after a while, even the presidency that had one meeting with him, will chicken out of other meetings, because Nigerians will lose respect for the APC. They will lose more respect for the APC.
Even though he's always been called a mole in some quarters of the APC.
When they see him go back to that party, given the fact that he has sufficient baggage, people will lose regard, respect for the APC.
All right.
So they have to think twice. Gani,
your final words as we round off.
Like I said before, 24 hours is a long time in politics. But in this 24-hour time frame, Sharif is a personal non grata in Borno politics.
All right, great. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your robust discussions this Thursday. And thank you too for your attention. And as we wrap up this edition of Journalist Hangout, remember there's another interesting episode of the program waiting for you tomorrow, the final episode for the week. You can watch today's broadcast again tonight at 11 p.m. And you can watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback, of course, remains Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. Thank you once again for watching. I am Kemi Foladeyemo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.